Hi everyone, welcome to today's live stream on the life cycle of nodes in the Shardeum network. I'm Sonia and I'm excited to take you through the journey of how the nodes operate, transition, and maintain the integrity of the Shardeum network. We are going to cover various aspects today, like different kind of nodes, how the registration and rotation works. There is also selection and activation part. And if we get some more time, we will also learn how it handles the node failures and loss detection. So let's dive in. So the life cycle of nodes within the Shardeum network is designed to ensure robust security, very efficient operation, and seamless scalability. Nodes transition through various states, beginning as standby nodes and potentially advancing to active nodes, participating active, uh, fully in network operations. So basically, there are two types of node states. One is standby nodes and another one is active nodes. Let's see what are the standby nodes. So what they do is they help in enhancing the network security. They participate indirectly. They don't hold any data or process any data. They act as a buffer against attacks. So these are the nodes that are not yet holding or processing any data, and their primary role is to enhance the network security by participating indirectly. And when they are in this standby node state, they act as a buffer against any potential attacks, such as 51% attack, as attackers would need to control a significant percentage of both active and node by nodes to succeed. And then there comes active nodes. They store data, they process transactions, they maintain operational integrity, they fully participate in network operations, and they also execute consensus. So these are the nodes that fully participate in the network operations, in transaction, during processing transactions and storing data. They are essential for maintaining the network's operational integrity and executing consensus. So this was just a very basic overview. What are the different kind of node states in the Shardeum network? The next state after this comes is node registration and creation. So let me take you to the diagram. Okay. So so to enter the standby list, nodes must first and submit a request. This involves creating a staking transaction which is validated and recorded on the blockchain. Let me zoom this a bit. Yeah. So at the start, to enter the standby list, nodes must first stake and submit a join request. This involves creating a staking transaction which is validated and also recorded on the blockchain. Each staking transaction is associated with a unique address, and it also includes a JSON block containing all the staking instructions that are encoded in base 64. This allows the system to easily recognize and validate staking transactions without processing them through the EVM. Once they are validated, so once the transactions are validated, the user's balance is updated, and node and operator accounts, they are also updated. This process is done by requiring nodes to present fire certificates, ensuring that only verified nodes can enter the queue. So nodes are periodically rotated out of active duty as a measure of security and efficiency. The network chooses which nodes to rotate based on their age, and they are also referred to as expired nodes. The number of nodes that will be replaced from the ones from the standby list is a configurable parameter. So if they fail to sync, yes, they will be slashed and removed from the network. But if they do, but if no, then they move to active list. I have a good diagram that I picked from our doc. It's here to explain you step by step how the transactions work on the Shardeum. We are going to walk through this step by step. So the step number 1 is user. It all starts with you, the user. You decide that you want to make a transaction and you tell MetaMask about it. So basically, you're expressing your transaction intent. And MetaMask doesn't just take your word for it through. It checks with the RPC server to get two important pieces of information. One is nonce, which is like a unique transaction ID and an estimate of how much this transaction might cost. So you see, it fetches nonce and gas estimate from the RPC server. Once MetaMask has this information, it shows the gas estimate and it returns the nonce and gas estimate to the MetaMask. And this is your chance to decide, if you are okay with the cost. So if you approve the transaction, as you see here, approve transaction from user to MetaMask. So if you approve, MetaMask takes your transaction, signs it, and signs it to prove that it's really from you, and then further sends it to the RPC server. The RPC server then passes this transaction to the validator network. This is where the real blockchain magic happens. It injects the transaction from RPC to the validator network. Then the validator network, it checks everything, whether it is legit, it executes your transaction and creates a receipt. It's like, your proof of purchase for the blockchain. This receipts then gets sent to the archiver, as you can see here. So, which basically does two main important jobs. First, it logs the receipt, thinking of this as, filling your warranty card. Then it sends this transaction data to the local data RPC. So as you can see, it writes the receipt to local data RPC. The local data RPC passes this information to the Explorer. This is how you can look up your transaction later if you need to. Finally, the validator network sends a confirmation all the way back to the system to you, letting you know that your transaction is complete. So you see, return transaction receipt. And so there you have it. That's how, Shardeum processes your transaction and record it properly. This is how the user goes through the process whenever they want to make any transaction, but it always starts from the user. So till now we have learned the different kind of node states and the transactions work on Shardeum, and we also discussed how nodes are selected and activated in the network. Let's briefly go and learn it again. Yes. Yes. So, basically what this diagram is doing, it is depicting a journey that basically a node takes to network to become active. So let me just give you it step by step. The first step is taking joining. A node takes and joins the network. Essentially, you can say putting down deposit to participate. Then there comes a standby list. The node enters the standby list, waiting for the node to become active. Then there is rotation schedule. Shardeum uses each rotation schedule approach to ensure there is a fair participation. Nodes rotate in and out of active states regularly. Then there is determinist random selection. This is where it gets fascinating. Shardeum employs a deterministic algorithm to randomly select nodes to standby list. Let me explain why this is very important and crucial. First of all, this is unpredictable. selected, it enters into syncing mode, and this is a very critical phase. The node syncs both cycle data from the network and relevant account data as well from the other nodes. This prevents disruptions if a selected node unexpectedly turns off. After syncing, the node notifies the network if it's ready or not. If a node fails to sync, as you can see in this diagram, usually double the median sync of the active node, it faces flashing and it gets removed from the network. So if it fails to sync, it's going to be slashed and removed from the network. But if no, it actually syncs, it's going to be moved to the active list. So here, let's talk also about a little bit about the activation process. It's not shown in the diagram, but it's also very important. Nodes don't immediately become active after syncing due to complexities in sharding calculations. To maintain network stability, only a certain number of nodes activate each cycle. And also, interestingly, the synced data from queued nodes is discarded. This is because the chance of a node being assigned to the same shard in the next cycle is very, very low. So basically, this meticulous process ensures that Shardeum maintains a robust, fair, and efficient network of nodes, balancing security, performance, and decentralization. Um, this is how the nodes go from standby to the active list. I believe we still have some time. We can also learn more about how the Shardium handles node failure and loss detection process. Let me take you through diagram. Okay, so I hope it's visible. So let's go through this step by step. So the first step is initial communication. Node A, so it sends a message to the node B. Okay, so but here, what's happening here is node A is trying to send a message to node B, but node B, it has no response. So when node B doesn't respond, it kind of raises a red flag. So the next step is tentatively node B as lost. So node A doesn't jump to conclusions. It classifies node B as potentially lost. So this is done. So there is a function called report lost. If you will look into the Shardas repository, you can see it in the code base how it actually handles. It's also open sourced. So node A basically waits for a set number of cycles. This gives node B a chance to recover if it's just experiencing any sort of temporary issues. So it waits until the next cycle. And now the things get interesting. Node A doesn't just rely on its own judgment, that maybe node B or some failure or something like that. It calls onto 4 other verifiers. So it requests status check from verifier number 1, verifier number 2, verifier number 3, and verifier number 4 to check on node B. That hey, what's the status of node B? Why isn't node B responding? Can you give me the status check? So these verifiers, how they are choosing that algorithm that we learned before, and it's tied to the network's sharding. So the vendor don't just ping node B asking, hey, are you there? Instead, they perform stealth checks requesting some data from node B. What happens is, as you can see, they are requesting liveness check. All the 4 verifiers are asking the node B for the liveness check. So there is no response from the node B. So so basically these checks are designed to be indistinguishable from normal requests so that they can ensure a fair response. So the verifier report their finding back to the node A. So they report the status to the node A. Okay. So unlike some systems that need, fully consensus, Shardium is a simple majority. It if most verifiers report node B as unresponsive, it classifies it as lost. So if node B is confirmed lost, this information is added to the cycle record. The entire network is now aware of the node B's status. So as you see here, all the verifiers, verifier number 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 and 4 are reporting their status to the node A. And here node B is confirmed as lost. It goes to the validator network. So yeah, so now node B is lost. Also, node B isn't going to be immediately kicked out. It's going to we are going to give it a chance to prove if it's alive in the next cycle. If it responds to the network request, it can be reintegrated into the active list. So you see opportunity to reintegrate status in the next cycle. If it doesn't respond, it's going to be removed based upon the results whatever we get. So if node B fails to refute its lost status, it's permanently removed from the active node list. And also to stop nodes from frequently going offline and coming back there is a mechanism called slashing. So it helps in further preventing abuse. So this whole process ensures that Shardeum maintains a network of reliable active nodes while also being fair to nodes that might experience temporary issues. So yeah, so today, just to give you brief, we have learned the different kind of node states, how the registration and rotation works. There is also selection and activation process. And we also learned about, how Shardeum handles any sort of node failures and loss detection. Also, this whole work is done on the repository called Shardus, github.com/Shardeum/Shardus. If you are interested to more deep dive into the code, what functions are performing, I would highly suggest this code channel. I'm just gonna see if there are any questions and stop sharing my screen.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Sonia, for that wonderful presentation. I think there's a question in the chat.
Just let me take a look. What's the meaning of executing consensus which was stated from about active lag? Let me take a look.
Sonia, can you hear me? I don't know if my voice is coming through.
Yes, I can hear you. I'm just taking a look at the question.
Okay, I think Bruce is asking about consensus.
Yes, so we are following a deterministic random selection approach that we are following when the state changes from the standby to the active nodes.
Correct. And it's the active nodes in the network that are responsible for reaching consensus on a transaction and basically coming together and sharing their states and voting on the transaction to say, hey, has the transaction gone through? Is the state updated? Once consensus is reached, then they move on to the next stage of generating a receipt and sending it to the archiver server, who would then send to the local data RPC server. So the active nodes in the network are the ones that are responsible for reaching consensus on transactions, which is what we call transaction processing, right? So we can have nodes that are standby, we can have nodes that are still staking, trying to join the network, but the only ones that are responsible for reaching consensus are the ones that are currently active in the network. Let us know if that answered your question, Bruce.
I think, yeah.
Awesome. All right. If there are no other questions, I'm going to put, sorry, Sonia, I'm going to put a link to our open source channel in the chat. so that anyone who would like to keep the conversation ongoing, or if you have any more questions, you can ask us in that channel and we'll be happy to help you. Sonia, if you can type that in the chat, please.
Wow.
Yes. Thank you, Showam, for sharing. All right. So
I don't know why, but for me, it's not getting pressed. Thanks, Dylan.
I see. All right. Subsequent questions, conversations can happen there in the open source channel that Shuam has linked in the chat. So feel free to join us there. We work on open source projects as well. I opened a few GitHub issues that are good first issues that I see people from the channel are also taking it up and going to work on it. So if that is something that you're interested in, or you'd like to contribute to Shardeum in some way, please join us in that channel, and we keep working together to make Shardeum better. If there are no other questions, I think, Sonia, we can end the stream here.
Yes, thanks everyone for joining. And also, maybe do you want to, tell them about the next stream?
Yes. We have these live stream sessions the same time every week. But we're starting from today, we're going to be having these sessions every 2 weeks, bi-weekly now, so that we can reduce the severity of the live stream. So look out on the events tab in Discord. That is where we're going to be scheduling the subsequent sessions. So probably by the end of the week, we should have maybe 2 sessions for the next couple of weeks that we're going to be covering. And if something else I want to call out is, if any of these things that we've said is still confusing to you, or you need some kind of resources to learn more about the transaction lifecycle, the node lifecycle, all of this information are also available on our documentation on the architecture section of the Shardeum documentation. So feel free to read about it yourself. If you have any questions as you read them, you can put it in the open source chat, and we can and continue to answer you from there and continue the conversation. So thank you everyone for joining, and we will see you again next time.